Oh, yeah, you might be forgiven for thinking that's a celebratory clap. That's actually my sarcastic slow clap. You're watching. The finale was massive in terms of amount of stuff happening. We were everywhere. To the point that everything was just rushed over. You know, we had a little bit of Marine and seeing where Drogon's gone with Daenerys. We had a little bit of sort of the Stannis battle. We had a little bit of Dawn and obviously we had a little bit of the Night's Watch. So whilst we love that about Game of Thrones, that we can go to many different areas, it doesn't make sense that they've had such light episodes in terms of plot development or things happening, that they would just literally cram it all into the final episode to make a grand finale. I understand the fact that people say they've had wind down episodes as their finales in the past, but surely there was so much more they could have used throughout the season with what was in the final episode. If not, surely they could have played with a lot more of the themes that were in it. Even with Myrcella learning about Jaime being a dad, that could have been something that was touched upon previously, and we could have all been allowed to sort of enjoy the fact that she's quite happy with it, but accept that, you know, the Dornish women are sort of plotting against her. Fine, don't care. It's not what's happening in the stories, it's how the stories are being told that's really getting to me. The whole Cersei shaming scene was like a Family Guy joke that just went on, and instead of actually getting past funny, waiting, and then it gets funny again, you kind of get past the shock, you just like get traumatized more, and then it's like ultra shocking by the end. And am I the modern day Mary Whitehouse who used to complain about Doctor Who being over sort of violent?
The final shot of the episode was Doctor Who drowning.
Let's not talk about the violence. Let's talk about pacing specifically. The whole battle with Stannis was just condensed into a reaction at the beginning of the episode, and then it just happened. There was no suspense built, really. It was literally they were there. You know, we're going to start a siege. No, done, dead. Just what a waste of having all those extras on set. What a waste of, like, there was a beautiful CGI shot where it showed you from above as if you were at some history museum watching how sort of horses will flank, cavalry will flank any military sort of infantry. And then it pretty much just cut away. There was a possibility for some decent fighting scenes in there. We've had, if you think about it, 2 great episodes in terms of action before this. And they could have set themselves up to having sort of 3 final actions sort of episodes. Wow, exceptionally sort of full, busy, graphically interesting, rich, entertaining, and then used several of these other stories throughout the rest of the series. Like, I think specifically Cersei's sort of scene, one didn't need to be anywhere near as long, so it could have been sort of halved and the point would have got across, and then that time could have been used for more of Stannis' battle. If not, I just think more lead up to Jon Snow's death. It would have been more fitting, I'd feel, than a very quick last 2 minutes killing. It didn't make sense. On the good side, let's go to good, Nathan. We had Theon finally coming out of his shell and well, killing Miranda. And then they jumped from the top of the battlements into what looked like a couple of foot of snow. So either they're sort of crippled outside of the castle and going to be found by Ramsay and probably murdered, or the snow is a lot thicker than it looked, and they've just landed in it and away they go. fingers crossed, they'll just go north and try and find Bran and Rickon. Oh, who? Bran and Rickon. Yes, they're two characters in this program apparently, and they're up north with the children of the forest. And I felt actually that the pacing of Dany's scenes was fine, kind of being sort of found with Drogon, her helplessness now that he's decided to have a paddy and fall asleep, and then as she's wandering around looking for food or something, then she gets surrounded. That's a very good finale sort of point for Dany. This swirling is very similar to how I felt that they had the fire around her when she was becoming the mother of dragons. And Drogon, obviously being Drogon, is just, yeah, it was beautiful animation of the dragon. I think any dragon nerds out there will be very pleased with how the skin texture looked, how it all sort of felt, and especially down to the sound design as well of his grunts and his snorts. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But going back to Meereen, where has Varys been? What the? Come on. If Tyrion managed to get there by sort of being escorted, probably through more underhand pathways, how the hell did Varys take his time to getting there just to rock up at the final scene? I'm quite happy that Varys is back. I think he and Tyrion will make an interesting pairing again as they were previously. I was speaking to a friend of mine, and it kind of came about that we were talking about how it all would happen in King's Landing. And what doesn't make sense is the fact that as soon as Tommen was sort of stopped from seeing his wife, who was incarcerated previously in the season, the Gold Cloak would literally just massacre everybody and just show force and kill everybody and get sort of his queen back. And it seemed like there was a couple of nerds who like sort of put a mark on their forehead and wore a few chains, and that was enough to kind of deter them. So we're given the brutality of medieval times, yet we're not sort of allowed for logical, brutal medieval times to happen. The Gold Cloaks are meant to be an absolute force to reckon with, and they surely could have been able to take over that one sort of area that the Sparrows have got. So it just doesn't make sense, really. And I know I'm talking about a fictional program, and there's dragons in it, so a lot of that doesn't make sense. I know, but it feels like they're not really getting. It feels like George R.R. Martin and the producers are going around things and going about things without either fully developing them or not really sort of pointing them out to the audience in a way which means that we go, okay, right, we can accept that happens. There's actually enough of these sparrows, and that could be used by, showing literally an army of these sort of faith militant in shot. They've got the ability to do that. Why don't they? Then you can go, okay, 10,000 of them, all with their crazy head scars, and against the Gold Cloaks. Well, there's a number of them now, but it didn't just happen like that. It always just seems like there's 4 or 5 of them, and they must have had their gummy bear potion to bounce around and kill everybody. Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere. I venture that's beyond compare. So if they got the pacing right, this season could have been great. I just feel like they left earlier episodes sort of sparse and pointless to make sure they have a finale which is big enough for people to go, oh my god, that's horrific, or that was so memorable, or we'll come back next time to see what happens. But I think they've now got a job on their hands, because I think there's a lot of Game of Thrones fans who just love it for the sake of loving it. They're the diehards, and they just enjoy the world. But I do believe that there'll be a contingent of people who watch who will now be expecting more from next season. They'll probably be going, if it's the same as last season, they're going to lose me. It's pointless. But I kind of feel, in a reference to pregnancy, it's painful to go through, and then you forget about that pain, and then you do it again if you want another child. Watching Game of Thrones is like pregnancy. That is not the way I want to describe it. I feel like we're glutton for punishment. Is that the phrase? We're looking for it. Because we keep watching and we keep expecting it to change, and it's not going to. So, as always, ultraviolence is acceptable if it's justified. I was watching Jurassic Park earlier this week, and what's great about a film like that is that dinosaurs rip people apart in it. You know, they just absolutely destroy them. But it's used in like it's shot in a thriller fashion where it's suggestive, and you know, either you see the dinosaur appear at the car window and you think, okay, this guy's dead, and then you cut away to the shot of the car just absolutely rocking and screams and all the rest of it. Has validity to it, whereas the gratuitous use of violence is almost just like you're going to have to keep getting more and more for it to make the same impact that you had previously. And if it tells a story, maybe. Could we justify that Arya killing the paedophile in that fashion was justified?
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Because he is so abhorrent and so evil that the best way for him to die is through a violent death. And they're the kind of Hollywood ones where the bad guy gets blown up by a rocket and it's okay and acceptable because they are so evil. But at the same point, it's the length of time of things that are on and how it's done and how it's suggested. They've done it well for 4 seasons, and now it feels like they've just lost their way a bit. I may as well talk about Jon Snow, because I just kind of stopped taking tweets as the shocking scenes kind of came around towards the end. So I want to talk about Jon Snow. Is it bad that he died? No. Did I want him to die? No. I enjoyed him as a character. I thought he was interesting. He had a lot more to go. Do I think he's gone forever? No, I don't. I think somehow he'll be back. There is magic within this series, so the possibility of Jon Snow being revived is very much there. Did I hate the way they went about it? Yeah, pretty much. Just gave him a couple of minutes at the end there to sort of be brought out and then stabbed repeatedly. Should everybody hate Ollie? No. Ollie is not the bad character. He's a kid who needs guidance, and yes, he saw something horrific, and so of course that's going to stay with him as his parents died. Who was he guided by? He was guided by misguided traitors. You know, they're the ones that are actually the traitors. They're the ones that are elected in Jon Snow to be the Lord Commander, and they've kind of mutinied him. So they clearly got talking to Ollie and sort of basically said, you've got to get involved in this as a rite of passage. So should we hate him? No, we shouldn't. We should still empathise with the fact that he lost his family. He lost somebody that he looked up to in Jon, but he's been misguided by the mutinous traitors. The problem is that they only gave him 2 minutes. They should have given it, I don't know, just bigger build up. You know, some of the questions within when Sam and Jon were talking. If there could have been the startings of you know, the ruse to get him killed, that I feel would have been better, and we could have seen it coming. And it's like seeing the ticking time bomb when the character in the room doesn't know it's there. We as an audience would sit there going, there's a bomb underneath the table and you're going to die. That would have been better, I feel, rather than just a last minute knock, knock, bang, bang, you're dead. And or stab, stabbity, stab, and you're dead. But will he be back? I think he will be. They're all my thoughts on Thrones. Grumpy as always. That's a lie. I think I've been quite happy in the past couple, but grumpy is as seasons does, and this season has made me very grumpy. Sort it out. Let me know what you think, because I'm quite happy that the season's over. I really do just feel like
So long and thanks for all.
Traumatic murders and deaths, and we'll probably see you next year. If you have any thoughts on Thrones, get in touch below. I'll speak to you next time. Ciao.